Okay, so welcome to my 12th devlog video. If you're new here, the application that I'm documenting about is something called a phone filter, which has been the app that I've been building for the last couple months. It's basically an app that screens the incoming callers directly on your phone to help you filter out any callers directly on your device without having to waste your time and be distracted. My plan for the previous week was to actually launch the application. I think if you watched that video from the previous week is I said that I've already launched the application, but I actually didn't. And one of the reasons why it took a little bit longer than I would have expected, because I was having a ton of issues with just testing it on the different states of the application. And as you know, like one of my biggest goals for this app, at least before I release it, is solving for the reliability aspect. We can talk about the server reliability and then the app reliability, but in my opinion, the server side is not the hardest part. I have some concerns about the server side because of how much concurrent users they can actually use the application, but I'm definitely much more concerned about just the overall state of the app. There are issues when you are testing it on different states of the application. As you know, there are 3 states of an app. It could be running in the background, it could be directly active on the screen, or it could be fully terminated on your device. So for the last couple months, I'm focused solely on just the active state. And as you know, for a voice calling app, for any calling app, whatever it is, it's gonna need to run when your device is not running. And this is something that I clearly missed out on from when building this application. I just did not think about this stuff. That's one of my mistakes. Fortunately, it's not really it's not a huge transition. It's just minor issues here and there when it comes to dealing with different states, making sure that some of the, if you want to go technical here, some of the components are actually running in the background, making sure that you have the right settings on, make sure that you have the background processing on, all this kind of stuff. I'm not going to go into the details now. There are just things that they require a little bit of changes, but overall, I could finally say, I don't want to jinx it. I could finally say I reached the stable version of the app. Maybe it's just, you know what? Maybe a stable version, as in you can actually receive a call when it's terminated, when it's running in the background, and when you're sleeping, whatever you're doing, as long as you are connected to the internet. And that's just like, I didn't want to just release something that is unstable. It's totally doesn't even work. It doesn't do what it's meant to do. And I spent the extra days just to continuously verify and test and essentially stress testing the app and see how far I can push it and see how far I can like really find every little gaps that I'm constantly missing. All right, I kind of got sidetracked there. So where were we? So yeah, so that's the goal for this week, is just making sure that it's just purely reliable at hand when I release it. And then we'll go to the next issue here. And my biggest concern is definitely the server side. Because I have yet to really test the server on how many callers, how many users that it can handle. At the moment, I'm running this on a single instance on Heroku. And oh my god, that's so funny, Heroku makes it easy for you to just launch something without having to worry about all the other nitpicks that you'll find when launching on, for example, AWS. Like I just didn't want that headache. I want something that I can like test out and then see if it works on production mode, like how it would be different on the serverless environment versus how it's going to be different on the local development. You get it. And so I am currently running this on Heroku. Now, if you're like an experienced developer, you could be like, oh, that's probably a bad idea. Maybe you can move it to something like a DigitalOcean. Maybe you can use, I forgot the other ones that there are so many things now, like Fly.io. You can even use Fly.io and then maybe increase your CPUs from there. I don't want to do that now. I get it. I could definitely upgrade my instance to like the professional version on Heroku. I think you can actually do that. But going back to the point, it's like I don't know. Like that's one of my main. I don't know how it's gonna scale. Like I don't know how this is gonna scale now. I don't know how it's gonna perform for now. But I have some ideas on how to scale the server in the future. But I just don't. I don't want to think about that for now, because what I'm more that's what my biggest concern. Because because the first thing I need to do is actually release it and actually try and sell it to people. And so if you're watching this now, I've already finally released the application on TestFlight with public beta testing. I would have been already started emailing people to get on the application. I think that's kind of where my head is at. Started emailing the first few testers to use the application. Look, I can tell you now that not all beta testers will have access to the app. And one of the main reasons for this is because only a few countries that have no requirements for the address of the owner of the numbers. And mostly if you're in the United States, if you're in the selected countries like the United States, Canada, I think Mexico is even one of them. But if you don't, it doesn't have any requirements to show your ID and verification of where you live. But let's say if you live in Australia, for example, you do have to show a verification for that, for the person holding that number. And I personally, I don't, as much as I want to offer it to everybody, like I don't want to offer it for the broader I guess broader segments of testers, because I think what's more important for me is to see the app working, and then we can then start dealing with getting people from different countries to then start using the app from wherever they are, right? So with countries, even with countries that has a address requirements, we can start to deal with. We can then now start to, if there are already people using the application, then we can then start thinking about expanding to countries that have a verification process. At the moment, I just don't want to do that now, and it's kind of unfortunate to say, but it makes the testing much easier, and also makes the verification a lot easier for me. You gotta help me out, guys. So that's one of the, I think I'm just talking of what's on my mind right now. It's like, okay, so what did I actually so this week is all about just preparing for the external release, and actually release and preparing the app to be used publicly. So I verified the live listening feature, which I had some issues on, where sometimes the listener wouldn't be able to join the call on production. This has to do with just making sure that your URL for your Tumo app. This has to do with the URL that I was using. It wasn't the same as in development mode. It wasn't the same for the development mode and production mode. You get it. I don't want to go too technical here. I've also started addressing the memory leaks on the application. I can tell you now, like maybe I can do a separate video on this, on how I dealt with the memory leaks on Node.js. I saw a post on Twitter about how memory leaks on Node.js is fairly common. And look, I can tell you now, I've used all the available tools out there, from Chrome to Heatdump to MemLabs, all that kind of stuff. But that's the thing, I've used all these tools, but I've yet to really find where it didn't help me pinpoint the actual source of the memory leak. But I can tell you now, like one of the more reliable way of finding where this leak is through your dependencies. Go check your packages and go check if you're following the best practices of using that packages, because you might find that there are cases where, like, it gets you to trigger something, but you forget to shut it off. Something like that. Some of these packages are just maybe inherently leaky that you need to then go look for something that is not leaky. It's like the version. And one of the ways to find which packages is to actually search through all your dependencies and then type on Google package name and then memory leaks, and you're gonna find that other people have actually encountered the same issues before you even did. So that's one of the good advice to keep there. If you're watching this now, I can tell you for a fact that the app is now open for beta. I am, like I said in the beginning, I am slowly inviting people in because I would just to make sure that I can like see what's going on with the server, and I can like guide people in. I can help people with different questions, rather than this full release of the app for open, and then next thing you know, the server is fucking burning to hell. I don't want to do that. I think I prefer like a gradual and controlled testing, and then opening it wider and wider until it's finally open and finally released to the App Store. That's definitely what I want to do. I guess I've spoken about like a million times now, and what I'm gonna do in the like the first couple releases is just to keep the credits for now, and then later on slowly migrate to using something that is better for just the use that is much more user friendly, and that's more easy to understand. Because like when you look at the credits, you actually have no idea how long that's gonna last for you. And to me, the number of call minutes makes a lot of sense for this application in particular. So that's what I'm planning to transition later on, again down the line. But in the beginning, obviously, like in the beginning, it makes sense to just like go with whatever pricing you can. I do because look, I tell you now, like the current pricing model that I've got so far is not ideal. It's not ideal for the long haul. It's not ideal for scaling. It's not ideal for like reliability issues. I think that's all I got for this week. And that's really all I have. I'm just happy. I'm just happy. I'm just glad it's come this long way to get to this point where I can actually say now, you can actually get the app, buy the number, use it, and go bananas. Do whatever you can, and go and test it for yourself. I think I already have a good idea on what the roadmap would be, because then this will be the base level of that roadmap, and then we're gonna continue expanding it on. I already know how to go from this to like something way more advanced than I can like think of, and that I can like imagine what a phone app will be, at least what the more advanced version of a phone app on the iPhone. I have some pretty good ideas and more ideas on like how to improve this application now, but it's really important that you get to this point of just like selling it. Again, from the book Ready, Fire, Aim, it's all that the first job is to sell, and second job is to sell more. The third job is to improve the product, and then the fourth job is to organize. And that's kind of what I'm using so far. So I'm glad to be at this stage. I'm glad that I'm in a stage where I get to invite people in, and I'm glad to get to the point where I get to learn about the sales and marketing stuff beyond just the landing page. Obviously, I also work on my landing page. I think my thoughts on the landing page is kind of okay. The landing page is okay. It's not the most beautiful thing, but I think one of my main focus on just the landing page is to just show what it does, tell exactly what it does. Like let's start with this, to tell a story and to actually pass the grunt test on the landing page. And if you don't know what a grunt test is, the grunt is essentially when you're looking at the landing page, you can tell, you can immediately tell, it's like, you can tell, the grunt test is the 3 questions. So it's like, maybe I can show the landing page here. So essentially, what do you offer? So for mine, it says something like a smart call screener for the iPhone. How will it make the live customer better? What is it mine says? Mine says something like, mine's about managing unwanted callers that interrupts you and then helps you save time. And what does he need to do to buy it? And then you can tell the CTA is right there. So join the early beta testing and sign up and all that stuff. And it kind of shows you the demo of the application for people who are a little bit skeptical and how it will work on the iPhone. So that is just, that's my thoughts on the landing page. Look, I think the landing page requires a lot more work. And that's granted. I know that. But again, in the beginning, everything just, it just has to be shit. But I really mean it when I say, like, my main focus for the app is reliability. That's at least what I'm looking for. And I think I got there now. I can tell everyone, hey, I built this for you. And if it helps you save your time, if it helps you manage your callers, if it helps you like not having to use these useless apps that are meant to be anti-spam. I don't want to say anything more than that. All right, I think that's really it for this week. If you're interested in the books that I'm reading about business, all that kind of stuff, here are my 3 recommended books that I read that helped me get into this journey of this engineering to business development, and then now to like learn about marketing and sales, all that kind of stuff. That this explosion of things that you will never come across with just from a technical brain that you have. So watch this. See that. All right. That's it.